Hey everybody, Andre here at the Coaches Hangout. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Consumer Price Index and how it is used to determine or calculate the rate of inflation. Now, if you were to buy a car, a brand new car a year ago for say $20,000, and today that exact same car would sell for $21,000, well, that's referred to as inflation. Now, we're going to look at three different questions that all ask different things, and therefore you need to know three different methods to determine the answer. And I know what a lot of you are thinking is, oh no, I'm having a hard time remembering one formula. Now I need to memorize three. Well, because of that, I'm going to show you a neat little trick that will help you solve all three of these questions using the exact same method. After all, at SeeWhy Learning, we want to make it as easy as possible for you on exam day so you can have a successful result. Now, before we dive into these questions, a little disclaimer. I'm going to assume you already know and understand the following points. We've covered this in another video. The CPI, or Consumer Price Index, is a notional basket of 600 goods and services. And this basket, the value of this basket is tracked, and that's what determines, what the inflation rate has been. Now, again, if you've added the full suite of videos to your subscription, we have a video titled Inflation and Real Return, where we go into much more detail. With that in mind now, let's take a look at the first question. Now, question number one, I've actually titled, because I'm going to show you how all three are different, but we're going to use the same method. Question number one, I've titled, what would CPI be? And you now see the question on the screen. So it's asking you, if the CPI was 118 on January 1, 2020, and over the year, Canada's terms of trade was 3%, that's irrelevant. But the inflation rate was 4.5%. You're being asked, what would the CPI be on December 31st? So how do we calculate this? Well, we simply take 118, which is what the CPI was at the beginning of the year, and we increase it by 4.5%. In other words, it's going to be 104.5% of what it used to be. So if we enter that into our calculator, 118 times, and I'm going to make this really easy for you, 104.5, and we can hit the percentage button, and we find out the answer is 123.31. So really simple. We take 118, which is where the CPI started. We multiply that by 104.5% because it's going to be 4.5% more than what it used to be. That's 104.5%. And then I even used the percentage button on my calculator, which made it real simple. And again, the answer is 123.31. Let's select it. And of course, we are correct. All right, let's move on to question number two that you now see on the screen. And I've titled this one, what was CPI? So they're giving you CPI today, and they're asking you what it would have been at the beginning of the year. It's a very different question, and it would require a different format. Now, if you're good with math, if you're good with algebra, you can figure this out. And if you want, you can even submit a request, and maybe we'll take this up on a future video. But here's a quick way to solve it. I use a process of elimination, and I simply test each answer. So for instance, I can start with answer D, and there's a reason why I start with D. I work my way up because I'm using a process of elimination. A lot of times an examiner might know students will do this, so they'll put the answer down in the C or D slot, figuring, well, if you're going to do a process of elimination, they're going to at least make you do 2 or 3 calculations. So with that logic, I don't start with A, I test D, and then C, and then B, and eventually I find the right answer. So I'm going to start with answer D, and I'm just going to test it. So I'm going to take 121.18, which is the answer. I'm going to multiply that or increase that again by 104.5%. So I've entered 104.5. I'm hitting my percentage button, and I get 126.63, not 123.31, which is what it says in the question. So I know that's not the answer. All right, let's cross out D. Now I'm going to test answer C. So again, I'm going to take 118. I'm going to multiply it by 104.5. I'm using my percentage button. And I get 123.31. Holy geez, that's the right answer, isn't it? If the CPI was 118 and it increased by 104.5%, it would be 123.31, which again is the right number. So, with that in mind, let's pick answer C. And of course, we are correct. All right, let's move on to question number 3. What is the inflation rate? Here they're saying the CPI increased from 118 to 123.31, and they're asking you what was the inflation rate. Well, again, you can do this algebraically, but so much easier to use a process of elimination. I'm going to do that. It's a multiple choice exam, and I want to take the path of least resistance. So I'm going to do a process of elimination, and I'm not going to start with A. I'm going to start with D. Work my way up again. All right. So 118, which is the starting CPI, let me increase that by 104.5%. And what does it come to? 123.31. Well, I'm lucky. I got it right the first time. So the answer is obviously D. But just I want to eliminate another answer. I want to show you how another answer would the math wouldn't work out. So let's test answer C, right? 118 times 104.25, because that's what answer C says. Percentage button equals 123.01. So C is wrong. And of course, if we did that for B and A, we would find out A, B, and C are wrong, and D is the right answer. So just a neat little trick. Sometimes if you don't know how to figure out the answer, sometimes you can kind of work backwards a little bit and look at each answer and test each answer and narrow it down and arrive at the right answer. Thanks, everybody. I hope you find this video helpful. It is a concept that takes practice. You'll get that with the SeeWhy Learning exam prep questions. Keep up the great work and good luck on your upcoming exams.